So today we are going to see a couple of things about post tweaks and what are the some post processors. They bring some actions. They have some actions included in the post processor, which I call trigger actions. So how we can trigger those actions and where we can find them. So that's something related with post processors. And then I will show you guys how you can do your own simple post tweaks in Fusion. So the Fusion post engine works. So the post engine of Fusion 360 is the same as HSMWorks and Inventor CAM. So whatever post you're working with, if you do a change on that post processor, that same post processor will be available. It will work for HSMWorks, either for HSMWorks or Inventor CAM. So just so you know, whatever tweak you do in your post is available for the three softwares. And then I would like to show you guys a little bit about some of the new features that they are releasing, the Autodesk team. One of them is a range feature that allows you to do a quick nesting about a bunch of parts that you want to work with. I have created two examples today. One of the examples is, let's suppose that you have like several parts like this. I use the logo of NextGen CAM, extrude that up with a 13 thickness, and then I can arrange that and put it in a sheet metal and cut that with the CNC machine or with a water jet or with a laser machine or plasma. And then the second example is a furniture example, a closet that I did the same thing. So I built that in an assembly file, and then I want to do a nesting of that and cut that in a sheet of plywood or something like that. You can also do it in metal working. So let's talk about the trigger actions. So I do have a sample file here. Also, these sample files that I'm using, this one here is included with the Fusion 360 library. You can find that file in here in the CAM samples. It is here, The other two files that we're going to run today, if you guys want me, I can send you that. They're public, okay? All right, so I do have this part created here. So what I'm going to do is I just turn out, so I did the phase turning operation and I did also a grooving operation. Now I'm going to create an operation to cut that feature with a live tooling operation. And then I'm going to show you when you're doing a live tooling operation, if you're using a mill-turn post processor, there are some things that you can trigger, such as if you whether want to use polar mode, yes or no, or if you want to use y-axis, or if you want to use not polar mode, but because some machines does not have polar mode because it's an extra module that you need to pay for. So in case that your machine does not have polar mode, polar interpolation, we normally use X, Z, and C. So then I will show you how you can trigger those things using the post processor. Okay, so let me create the operation very quickly. So I'm going to create a rough milling strategy to the adaptive flaring. And I'm going to grab the tool that I have here, is tool number 13. All right, so it's a flat end mill. It's 10 millimeters, but it works. If I don't have any inches English tool, but it's the same. It's just a matter of having you grabbing your tool from your libraries, okay? So now what I'm going to do, basically, I want to rough out that single edge. And some of the users, they normally, sometimes if you hover the mouse, and if you're not able to grab the edge that you're looking to cut, I have seen some people creating sketches, which is also a valid solution. But the way that Fusion 360 works is that every time that you don't get the shape that you're looking to cut, like in this case, I want to cut only that and not this. Every time that you get this situation, just hover the mouse, click again, and start changing your boundary. Let me just do it again. Another thing, let's suppose that I don't want to propagate my selection like it is doing right now. So what can I do to not propagate the selection? I would like to select only the top edge, only this edge. So what you need to do is hold down Alt in your keyboard, hold down Alt, keep it pressed, hover the mouse, and you will see now it is not propagating anything. You see that? I'm selecting single edges. So I'm going to hold down Alt, hover the mouse, click there, and now it start getting shape. Let me click again. Hold on, guys. So click again, and now I want to start propagating my selection. So add those 3 lines, hit accept, and here we go. We got the file, the cut that I'm looking, the slot that I'm looking to cut, or the shape that I'm looking to cut. And if I hit OK, just so you know a little bit, I will get that toolpath created. Okay. Let's take a look at the simulation. Just gonna start cutting that. So with a rough milling strategy, and then I want to finish that. So I'm going to create another operation. Here's another trick. If you guys want to create an operation that has the same selection that you did before, you can do right mouse click, create derive 2D milling, and here select the operation that you want to derive to. By doing a derive operation, basically, you will bring everything such as tool data, fits and speed, selections, every single setting you will grab that and you will put it in the new operation that you're creating. So as you can see here, I have the same geometry. I don't need to select the geometry again. Okay, so everything is already done. If you create derived, the only thing that you might need to do is change the tool to a different tool. I'm going to remain with the same tool. There you go. And one of the things that I would like to do is extend the toolpath a little bit further. So I'm going to do that. Here, let's extend that 1/2 inch. Hit OK. And there we go. All right. So let's suppose that we want to cut this. So what I'm going to do, let's suppose that we want to cut this in this end and in this end. Do I need to program everything again? No, you don't. You can create a pattern if you want. So right mouse click, create pattern, and I'm going to do a circular pattern. Just very quickly, hover the mouse, click there, the circular edge. So you need to grab a circular edge that you want to rotate about, and then do 3 times, and there we go. I got the pattern done. Now, let's post out this code. So I'm going to do right mouse click, post. And if you guys have your post processor, use that. I'm going to grab a post processor from the libraries. Let's say that I'm going to grab a Milturn, Dusan, Milturn machine. You have several Milturn posts, okay? You have Haas, Dusan, Okumas. There's a bunch of them, Mazax. Let me grab the Dusan that I was trying to download. Here in the top, you have the search. Right? You can type Dusan, download that. So this is the post processor that we're going to use. So I'm going to place that. Let me just put that post in the. I do have a folder for today's training created, so I'm going to use the post from that folder. All right. So let me just do this. Just bear with me, guys. Select folder. Here we go. I do have the DOSing. So if I do post, I will see that the machine is going to use, lucky me that this machine has enough room, I believe. The y-axis is, the range of the y-axis is long enough. Let me see. Yeah, the y-axis, this machine has enough room for the y-axis, so it is cutting those slots with the y-axis. But let's suppose that you did try to run this. So I go to the shop floor, I try to run this operation, and it returns an error saying that, hey, the y-axis is out of travel. You don't have enough travel. It could be due to the y-axis or it could be due to the x-axis. So we need to switch that into a polar mode. So how you can do that? Even though that the post processor understands, because in every single post processor there is something that tells what's the range of your machine. I can show you where that is located. And what the post engine does basically, it sees if that operation is within the range of the machine, it will use the X and Y. But sometimes, maybe due to little line that is out of range or deleting or something, that could be not 100% valid. So maybe a little arc that you're creating or something, that could make the post to not calculate the correct bounding box. And this toolpath, you could end up having the toolpath out of range on the machine and you will get an error. So how you can trigger that into a polar mode, that's the thing that I'm going to show you, is in here. So when you open the post processor, I do have the post processor open. So by the way, if you guys want to see the range that this post processor has been set up for in y-axis, scroll down until you start seeing the variables. Are you seeing this var? This is the variables that the post is using, kind of. There is a variable here called, actually it's not in here. I apologize. There have been doing a lot of changes, a lot of improvements in the post processor that now the things are in different places. So where you can find the travel of the y-axis. If you go here, this is why I like Notepad++, because it shows you up all the different functions that you have included in the post processor. Every function is a function. All right, so the function that I'm looking for is a function that defines the machine that I'm working with. So if you click here and if you do define, if you start searching define, you will see define machine. So here is where you will see what's the minimum and maximum range of y-axis and x-axis. So here's where you can change that, okay? So if you guys see that your machine is not 50 to 50 millimeters, and if it is 30, you can do 30, all right? If your machine is capable to go to the negative range of the x-axis, you will put it in here, -10. All right, so this is just a little bit of how this works. But what I'm looking to show you is the actions, where you can find the actions. So where can I trigger the post to use polar mode as opposed to X, Y, and Z? Because the operation is out of travel, is out of range. So the actions are located as parameters. Here, if you start looking parameter, you will see on parameter. So double click on it. And here you will see that the post has several actions. There is an action for part eject that you can call at the end of the operation. You can call an action to eject the part. Basically, it calls a macro that do a bunch of things to eject the part safely. There is an action to use X, Z, and C mode. This is the mode that you will use for live tooling operation when the machine doesn't have polar interpolation. It's the second mode. Normally, if you do have polar, you will use polar rather than X, Z, and C. It's better, polar mode. But not all the machines brings polar mode. It depends. There are some machines that doesn't have it. Doesn't have it. Here's the third action, polar mode. There are some other actions here for stock transfer, transfer with torque, use tail stock. All right, so the action that I want to show you guys is the use polar mode. So this is the action that we need to create in the post process. And you need to make sure that you're putting exactly this name, all right? So if I go here, let's say that I want to use that as a polar mode. So I'm going to jump into milling, setup, manual NC action, and here action. So this is the action that is going to trigger this thing. All right. So here I'm going to do use. I think it doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter. So it needs to be use polar mode. There is a better way that we can improve this. There is a filter that you can put in the post processor. I'm not going to get into details about that, but there is a filter that we can put in the JavaScript. By the way, the post processor is written in JavaScript. So if you guys are familiar with JavaScript, feel free to apply any change, but just be careful if you do something wrong. But there is a filter that you can apply in JavaScript, so in a way that you can use polar mode with space. You know, you can have space in between, you can have letters with caps or no caps, and it will match. It will understand that you're trying to trigger the use polar mode. So I need to, for this case, the filter is not in there, so I need to put exactly that string the way it is in the parameter. But again, there's a filter for that. If your post doesn't have that filter, just let me know. I can put that in, so you can do the action as whatever you wish. Hit OK. I'm going to put it prior to the operation. And if you do post, you will see now the adaptive clearing. Let me see, I'm not able to see it here here we go. The adaptive clearing now is using the polar mode. So as opposed to using the X, Y, and Z, now you are using the polar mode, which is G12.1. All right. If you guys want to use the polar mode for the second operation that I created, just do this. Just create one. If we want to use the polar mode for the second operation, you need to duplicate that. You can duplicate that action and put it prior to that operation. So these actions that I'm showing you guys are valid per operation. So this is for this operation, and this is for this operation. All right. And there we go. So now both operations are using the polar interpolation. If you guys want to use not the polar because your machine doesn't have it, you want to use the X, Z, and Z, just change the polar by X, X, Z, and C. All right. And here, just so you can see it, so this is using the X, the C rotated, the C rotation of the spindle, and the C, the Z. Is the other mode. But if you do have polar mode, you should use polar mode. It's better than this X, Z, and C. This is in case that your machine doesn't have polar mode. All right, so this is one of the things that I would like to show you guys. The next thing is how you can do some minor changes. There are some other actions that you can play with. Change the transfer type from phase to speed or whatever. Turn on or off the torque during the stock transfer. So there are some other actions that you can play with. Now, let me show you guys a couple of other little tweaks that you can do very easily in your post processor. You don't need to know JavaScript enough to do this. Okay, just a couple of things that you can turn on, turn off. The first one is how you can change your coolant modes. There are some customers that if they purchase like a mist coolant, or if they got a different type of coolant that they installed in the machine, and they would like to set the post up to allow doing, I don't know, mist coolant, coolant through tool, or whatever. There is a place where you can set that up. You can set the actions. You can set the coolant. Where is that place? I can show you. Let me open another file here so you can see it. I'm going to jump into the CAM samples post processor, and I'm going to open this inch post processor benchmark. This is a file. When I'm doing post tweaks, this is a file that I normally use to tweak to see if the post processor is outputting the correct logic or not. But you guys can use your own files, okay? So here there's a coolant codes command. So it has coolant off, fluid, mist, through tool. It has all of them. All right. So let's suppose that we got a new coolant mist mode, and that coolant mode is M7. So if I try to post out, I have a HAS post processor here. I will get an error saying that, hey, unsupported mist coolant, and then an error in operation, coolant mist. This is the name of the operation. But the problem is the error that I'm getting fixed is unsupported mist coolant. So what that means is, hey, your post processor has not been set to coolant, to mist, to use mist coolant. So let's add that in the post. So what I'm going to do is grab that name. The easiest way to find where that is coming from is to grab the name of the thing, open the post. Let me open the post up. It is in my post folder. I'm going to open, again, Notepad++ is the best one to do post edits because it allows you to select the JavaScript language, and this will show you a little nice color code for what's a variable, what's a number, what's a string. So it shows you a really nice color code definition for all the things. So if you guys want to start working more with this, I will recommend you installing Notepad++. All right, so I'm going to find the mist. All right, hit search, and here we have coolants. This is a list of coolants that my machine supports. I mean, the software supports. The software does support fluid, mist, through tool, air through tool, suction, fluid and mist, fluid through tool, and the coolant off. So here's the place where I need to add the mist. So here at the top, where it says samples, you can see two different samples that they're showing you what's the syntax that you need to do in order to add your coolant. So for mist, I need to do something like it is showing here, on and off. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this portion. You need to grab the comma, so it's the comma, on, and 88. Copy that and put it in here. Now, okay, let's say that we purchased the mist coolant in our machine. Now we need to, the M code that has been set up for that is M7. So you need to put here M7. All right. Now, to turn it off, as you can see, there is a command to turn it off. If your mist coolant use M9 to turn off, you don't need to specify that, all right? Automatically, HSM will turn it off with M9. You just need to specify the off, like it is here for coolant through tool, in case that your machine does not use M9, the standard coolant off. In case that your machine uses something different, in this case, M89 is the coolant off for through tool. That's why you need to specify that. So in this case, let's say that the mist is being turned off by M9, so I'm not going to specify that in here. So let's save that, and I'm going to post out the code, and you will see now the mist here is going to turn on with M7, and it's going to turn off with M9. All right. Now, another thing. Hey, Bruno, what about fluid and mist at the same time? How can I add those two? There is a fluid and mist, which is right, I can show you guys. It's right here, the fluid and mist. So you can see where it's here, where that is coming from. So if I post out this, now I will receive an error. Again, hey, fluid and mist are not supported. But why if I do have fluid and mist in my post processor? Yes, you do have fluid and you do have mist, but you don't have both at the same time. So that's why we need to set up that. So it's another item that you need to customize for fluid and mist at the same time. So that's what I'm going to jump in here. You can also do, again, copy and paste and trying to find where that thing is located, which is here, coolant, fluid, mist. Now, when you need to trigger two commands, you need to go into the second sample that they're showing here with those brackets. These brackets means an array or a list of items. So it has two items, 8 and 88. So just copy that. Remember to grab the comma and put it in here. All right. So I just paste the command there. And now you need to start changing your settings, the codes. So M8 is going to turn on fluid, and the mist is going to be turned on by 7. So you just put 7 in here. Hit save the post, and now let me just post out these two so you can see both coming out. So here you will see it, M7, M9 to turn it off. The first is mist, and the second is fluid and mist, M8 and M7. And to turn it off is M9. So here you see that both at the same time. Now there are more things that I can show you guys, such as, hey, what about if you guys wants to see the coolant coming out in the same line? That's something that could happen. For instance, when you're doing through tool or fluid and mist, how can I make them to come out in the same line together? Like in here. They're separate, M8, M88, M7, and M8. How can I make them to come out in the same line? Is another variable you can find here. Single line coolant specifies to output multiple coolant codes in one line rather than in separate lines. So this is a variable of type bool, and the bool variable can have two values, true or false. So what you need to do is turn this true. All right, true. So by doing that, just post out the code and you will see now everything is coming in the same line. All right. This is just a couple of sample things that I want to show you guys, but if you want to get more involved in more complicated things, if you need help with, just let me know and I can help you with that matter. if you need to do more complicated things to automate some process or to automate a few things. Another thing that could be useful is the tool break detection. So let's suppose that you want to do tool break detection. So here in the post processor, let me just go here, for instance, let me grab here this board, tool number 2. There is a tool break detection. It is under here, break control. So some of the post processors does not support this. So in case that your post processor is not support, how you can make that to happen? How you can make the post processor to support that thing, the tool break detection. So if I do post processor, it is actually lucky me that this post processor supports that. It's calling that macro. All right, that's a program to measure the tool. But in case that your post processor does not support that, and if you want to add it in, where is the place that you can add that type of things, that type of command? It's in here. I'm going to show you another trick. I mean, how you can see where that thing is coming from. Just do this. Right mouse click, hit post. If you go to the install post library, there is a post processor called dump. You can search here dump. What dump is a dump file that shows you all the variables, all the things that Fusion passed to the post engine. So this is the post processor created by dump. This is the file created by dump. So it shows you all the variables that you have access in the post processor engine. So here you can see the product ID generated by Fusion, the host name, username. So it shows you everything that you have access in the software through the post engine. If you scroll down, somewhere here you can try to search by break, but somewhere here you will see tool break detection. Tool break control. So this is a parameter, this is a setting that turns on break control. 1 means that it's turned on, 0 means that it's turned off. All right, so this is just so you can see, guys, what's the name of the thing that triggers that. All right. So here you have everything. Just you can take a look at it and see, for instance, let me just show you the tool break detection. Let me complete that. So here in the post, the break control is in the command. It's a command. So in the function list, you can search by command, and you will see here on command. The on command, you have several commands. One of them is break control. So here you can see how the break control looks like, and here you can add whatever you want. So how you can add things, you will need to do this. There are several ways to write information in the post. I mean, to write information that comes out in the NC file. All right. There are several ways. You can do write block. Write block means a block that has an end sequence. Write comment is a comment like this. Write line, so this is write block, is a block that has a sequence of lines. Write comment is a comment. And then you have write line. Write line is everything that is not a block, not a comment, is everything, all the rest. So what you need to do is to write line, and then you can put here, I don't know, let's say that your machine uses a different style, different syntax for the tool break detection. Let's say that is a FANUC. the FANUC use M98P2000, for instance, is a subprogram call to measure the tool. So you can do that. So the next time that you call that out, the next time that you post that out, I apologize. I should have used the post processor. And you will see here M98P2000. Okay, so this is just so you guys have an idea of how you can do your own simple changes. If you need help, you can let me know also. There are more actions that you can play with. Okay, there are more actions that you, for instance, let's say an action such as let me see what is empty here. For instance, everything is being populated. The pass through here, the pass through, you can do pass through, which is N00. You can stop the machine. This is a message, and print something on the controller that I want. This is a message that I want to print. Not all the post processors have the pass through setting. If your post processor doesn't have that, you can turn that on. So let me show you how you can do that. So let's suppose that I'm going to post out this. So how can I see the syntax of that? You need to use a dump file again. So let's post out with dump. So I'm going to jump into the install post library, search dump, and post out with the dump file. So I can see the syntax. And if you see here, you will see on pass through. And this is an action, a function. On pass through is a function. So inside the brackets, it has what's the variable, what's the thing that you're passing through the code. So what you need to do is kind of copy and paste this. So you need to go here. You can copy that from the on parameter. On parameter is another function. So I will search on parameter. And the function, as you can see here, the on parameter, copy everything here and paste. And just change that to on pass through. Just change the name of the function from parameter to pass through. All right. And then just do the following. You need to do write line, because I want to write the argument. This is called argument. This is an argument. I want to write the argument or the parameter that I'm passing through the pass through. I want to write that. So what you need to do is write line, and just so you know, the pass through only has one argument, doesn't have two. Okay, unlike the on parameter where you have name and value, just like you're seeing here. This is a name, comma, and the value. In the pass through, there is no comma in between, which means that it is only one single argument. One single argument. So that means that you don't need to have two. Just one is enough. I'm going to name it as value. And this can be whatever you want. You can put here XXX, YYY, ABC, whatever. I'm going to name it value so it makes more sense. And then just do write line. What's the thing that you want to write? Is value. And there you go. So the next time that you write that, you just post out code. Oops, I'm sorry. I should have used. I'm going to just remember to post out using your post processor. All right. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to put there is a chat tool on the GoToMeeting. Put the question there, and I will be happy to answer that question. Okay. Here it is, M00. This is a message that I want to print. So hopefully you find this useful, guys. If you're interested in this, just let me know. I can give you some insights. I can give you some little ideas of where you can grab more information. Actually, in this website where you have post processors, there is also a manual. I think here manual. You can click there. This is a guide manual for training purposes about how the post engine works, what is every function, and how you can do your own changes. Okay, you can give it a shot. Look at that. But hopefully you'll understand what I did, and hopefully you find this useful and you are able to do your own things. The last thing that I want to show you guys is the arrange feature. All right, so the next thing that I want to show you guys is where you can grab. So where you can the new arrange feature is still in development, is in preview, but I think some of you might have it, or maybe all of you. So where you can turn that on and how you can start playing with it. So go into Fusion, and here in the preferences, if you go into the upper right corner, preferences, and here you need to go into preview. Here it shows you all the previews things that are being developed. So I'm going to search arrange. So turn this on. Turn this on. After you turn that on, the next thing they need to do is turn on the icon for the arrange. So this is to turn on the preview functionality. Now you need to turn on the icon, which is in design, is here. Enable arrange and simplify tools. Turn this on, okay? So turn those two things on and here, okay. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to grab the file that I created for this training purposes, which is this next-gen CAM. Let's say that this is our company logo made in, I want to cut this in a laser machine or something like that. I'm using a logo, but you could use a lot of different parts, okay? So I want to cut this in a sheet of metal. Let me grab, I don't remember what's the standard sheet of metal sizes. All right, I got it here already. Okay, so what you need to do is go into the modify, and here you will find arrange. I think there's the same arrange might be in the fabrication. Actually, I think it's only there in design. Design is the only thing. How you can also search for where, so if you don't know where this is, you can also hold down S, press down S, and start searching arrange, and you will see it here. So turn that on. So call that feature, and what you need to do is start grabbing everything. I'm going to do this. Click the first, hold down shift, click the last one, and there we go. All right. The next thing that I'm going to do very quickly, just so I can calculate this faster, these three columns is for what's the freedom that you want to, because Fusion is going to try to arrange this part in a sheet of metal. So are you letting this to rotate 90 degrees, 180 or 270? Yes or no? So this is what these check marks are for. I'm going to let this part to rotate only 180, not 90 or 270. This is going to improve a little bit the calculation, okay? Just so I want to run this faster for training purposes. Here in the item separation is the distance between each item separation. Under sheet is where you define what's the size of the sheet metal or sheet of wood that you're looking to arrange to, that you're looking to use. So you have several ways. You can use the sketch. You can create your own sketch with your own size, or you can create a plane, a work plane. You can not create the sketch, but specify a dimension and a work plane that you want to work with. So I'm going to do plane, and the plane that I want to work with, turn on the origins, is there, and I can specify here, let me see, 36 inches by 96, something like this. Here you specify the sheet margin and the border spacing in between on the sheet of the sheet. Let's say preview. So this is a sheet. There you go. So maybe this part is really small, But here, yeah. So here you can see that I just let I told the arrange to rotate the part 180. So that's why you're seeing the parts being rotated 180 if it's needed. Okay. I could have done like, hey, you can also rotate 90. There is no any issue, and recalculate. So now you will have a different solution for the array. You see that? So hopefully you find this useful. Once you do this, hit OK, and here you will have your separate. And one of the things that I should have mentioned is that prior to doing your arrange, create a derived part, because of course, you can always roll back here the arrange, but I will recommend you, rather than working with the final file that you're trying to arrange, create a derived part so you can have two different files. One which is the original, my original Next-Gen CAM logo, and another one which is the one that is arranged. So finally, I can go here into my manufacturer, and go into, I should have created a sketch. I didn't use the sketch option, but I'm going to create the sketch that represents my stock. So I need to create here something very quickly. Let me create here a sketch of, the size was 96 by 36. Okay, 96 is too much. You see that? So maybe I can do something like this. And then I can do, I don't know, 20. That's fine. So we are not going to use entire sheet of metal. We are going to use only this little portion, just for the training. Then you need to extrude that up. So you need to extrude that with the thickness of, it's 0.75, and create a new body. Okay, new body is going to create a new body in your tree that you will use for your stock. So this is going to be my stock, all right? I'm going to hide it. You don't need to keep it shown. You can hide it. Then go to manufacturer, create your setup. The parts that I'm going to work with will be all the letters there. So I think I can grab all of them. Exactly. Hold down Shift, grab all of them under stock from solid, and click that solid. Just make sure that the origin is on the right spot. If it is not, just change that and put it at any place you want. Come on, why is it's not letting me to select that point? That's weird. Anyway, just put it there. I'm not sure why it's not letting me to select that. There you go. I don't know. All right. So once you got that done, you have several ways to cut this, okay? If you're working with a milling machine, you could use like a 3D contour. Why not? So go here, because if I do a 2D contour, I need to select everything. I need to select that, everything. So I don't want to select all that thing. maybe if I use a 3D contour, it will detect everything and it will cut everything automatically. Well, let's try that out. Let me see what tools do I have here. I'm going to grab something from the samples and grab something here. 3/8. This tool might be quite small, but you got the idea. You see that you can cut this like so. You can add more step down levels, so increase the step down level so you can have less cuts. Another way that you can cut this with is in a machine like a water jet or a plasma machine. So let me change that to a cutting. So just change the operation type to cutting. And finally, you can do cutting. When you're doing cutting, it's just a matter of, let me select the tool. The cutting automatically detects all the profiles of your part within that boundary. So let me grab the laser. So here, when you select one contour, you have this option, select same planes, and it will select everything. Outer loops. So what are the loops that you're looking to cut? The outer. And I want to start always outside. Hit OK. And this is in case that you want to cut this in a plasma or water jet or laser machine. It's gonna take a while calculating, but hopefully you guys find this useful. Here, if I do simulate, you will see that. I mean, this cut was done by the 3D operation that I did before. Let me suppress this. And here is the water jet or the plasma or whatever. So the idea is the same. So if I show you guys the close-up that I made, the idea here is the same. So grab everything, do arrange, and everything is good to go. I'm just going to let this to rotate. This is one of the things that they could improve, is a way that you can do multiple selections of these check marks. So as opposed to having me uncheck everything, it will be nice if we can have like a check all, so I can check all of them, or uncheck all, something like that. Let me just uncheck all this. I'm just doing this so I can get a faster calculation, because my computer is not the faster computer, but it does work pretty well. All right, there we go. We got that unchecked. So I'm just letting the parts to rotate 180. So I'm going to do the same. So grab a plane. I could have used in a sketch, but I'm going to grab a plane. Click there. And the sheet of metal, in this case, is a sheet of plywood. And let's say that this is 48 by 120. 120 by 48. Perhaps. Hit preview. It's gonna take a little bit, but hopefully, there you go. All right. This is using several plywood, several sheets. So it's using 1, 2, it's using several, 3, 4, 5 pieces of material. All right. So yeah, this is pretty much how this thing works. All right. So hopefully you find this useful.